Hello and welcome to the Feedback Show. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
It's nice to be back.
Isn't it just, yes.
On camera again.
Mm-hmm.
I hope everyone enjoyed our last show. It sounds like you all did. It's been a while since we did a feedback show, and that's purely because we haven't had many submissions.
They're all getting good, Steve, I told you.
They don't need it anymore.
Don't need the advice anymore, no?
So we're back with quite a few submissions this time. So should we just crack straight on, shall we?
Yep.
Okay, let me make us smaller again, like I usually do. There you go. There we go. So, first one's from Sherry. My particular difficulty is drawing black or very dark coloured dogs and cats. I just cannot get it right. I would be grateful for your comments. I'm using Stabilo Carbothello pencils, which is what you used to do many years ago. My previous drawing was sent to you and was using all soft pastels. My preferred paper is a Strathmore toned tan. Not easy to find the good stuff here in Mexico. I can imagine it is quite difficult. So this is Sherry's drawing of a dog. What do you think, Dad? What can we do here?
Very good. The first thing that comes to mind is that any black we know is really hard, and any dark colours are really hard. But the secret to them is base colours. If you've seen enough pictures of mine that where I lay the greys on and so on, and the black then becomes very rich instead of being harsh, which it would do if you just put it directly on the paper. It becomes rich, but it really needs to have build-up, and the build-up is what makes the dimension come alive. If you just put plonk colours on here and there and there, all you're doing really is doing a sketch. Now originally the pastel pencil, Steve, was used more for sketching rather than the way we do it. But when I came along I didn't like that, so I developed the system of layering and developing a picture that spoke to you, was real and wasn't a sketch. Now this particular Cherry's done a great job, but it's more somewhere between the sketch and the kind of thing we do. So I would suggest you have a crack at some of the pictures that we've done. We've got a few that certainly in the black dog and cat range, so you can try that at first of all and see how you work out. But remember, you've got to build those colours up. It also, by doing that, also allows you to put a colour in between, like blue or brown, depending on the tonal value you've got there. And I think that will make a big difference. But there's nothing wrong with the picture you've done, except if you're trying to achieve the kind of thing we do, which means that you've got to be a little bit more, you've got to build it up as opposed to just putting in. The difference is between a sketch and a painting.
It's interesting because I've seen other pastel pencil artists and they do put the pencil straight on the paper.
That's right. And
they're a bit more, like you said, sketchy with it. Whereas you treat it more like paint, don't you? Like more like a layering paint.
Yeah, I think it depends where you come from, you see. I mean, I come from a painting background, not a sketching background. So I kind of would err on the side of wanting to produce a picture that had depth in it. Sketches don't really have that. You can't get the depth so much. And so I think Cherry's having this difficulty because of that reason.
What made you do it the way that you did it, though? Because is it purely because you'd done painting before? What made you put down base colours before other colours?
I don't know.
Is it just because you put the pencil to the paper and thought, well, that's a bit harsh, maybe I can buffer it with something?
Well, I've not been a great sketch person anyway, never have been, right from the beginning. Although you could argue that my graphite pencils were kind of sketchy. Even that, if you look at the graphite, you still see a certain amount of depth in those pictures, not just a sketch. So I've never really been a sketchy person. I prefer to see, and always have done, a painting that's been done properly, if you like. Not that I'm knocking sketching, I don't want anybody to think I am. It's just the way I like to work. And we know that it's successful because people comment on it and say, oh, I love the way this comes to life and so on. So that's the way, so there's no real, everybody's got their own ideas. I've got my ideas and I've stuck with them. And I'm glad I did, because it gives me a lot of satisfaction doing it that way. It wouldn't give me satisfaction doing something like that. In my
sketchy, yeah.
It just wouldn't feel right.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I hope that's helped, and I hope you found that interesting. Next piece of advice we're going to give here, less on the feedback, more advice on this one, for Jenny. Hello, Stephen and Colin. I've been asked to draw this dog, the head and the shoulders portrait. The owner has requested a red background. Of course, it is not what I would choose. However, I wish to accommodate this request. Colin, what base colour would you use for starters? Would I start with a base such as 273 warm grey or lighter darker than this? I'm thinking 192 Indian red or 225, although I'm thinking she would like a brighter red such as 118. I'm conscious that whatever base I will use will potentially change the final colour. Appreciate your input. Thanks, Jenny.
Well, there's certain rules here. One is you look at the animal, not that animal that you've done, the animal you've done, you know, which might differ slightly in tone from the one you've got there. So let's assume that you've finished your picture, which is very much like the one you see on the screen. And we have colours that you've used in it. Now, what you do is you use those colours. The idea of a red background, I would not do that just red. There's no reason why you can't include red or the pinky colours into the background, but I certainly wouldn't start with that. Now, you've got two choices here. I think you've got either you would use ivory as a start colour and then build on that ivory, but I would prefer the grey. You're quite right to go down the grey route. I would probably here, because it's a light animal, you want a medium tone background. You don't want a dark background because it would be too oppressive against the light animal. So you want a medium tone background. Therefore, you're looking at something like 270, I would have thought, would be a good colour to start with. That's one of the best blenders anyway. So once you've got that in, then you can maybe use a 273 and then start introducing some of the ochres. Now, you've almost certainly put ochre in there, I would think, something like 187, 182. Those are colours you would have put in. That can actually be added to the greys. Once you've done that, there's no reason at all why you can't put some of the pinky colours in. I think I'd avoid red. Red would be too severe. I know you've got the red tongue, and I can see that possibly where you're coming from with that, but I certainly wouldn't make it red. But you can make the soft pinky colours. Or
like a 131 or something?
Yeah, 131, 191, 190. Any of those colours could be added, but they're not. The severe red, like the 118, would be a bit harsh. Although if you put 118 on top of all those other greys I've just mentioned, then it would be subdued. But I still
be more pinky, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
bright pink.
I'd avoid the very strong colours. The picture I've just finished, Steve, or right on the tail end of finishing now, is I've put in grey. I started with 230. I've then added 233. Now wait for this, folks. Right, 233, which is the bluey greys. Then I've added 181. Now, can you imagine putting that on top of that? 181, 157. Then I've put 194. Now, 194 is like a very dark pinky colour.
Yeah.
You know, it's very rich. I put that in. Then I put a bit
on top of 157.
All of these have gone on top of these colours, and it worked absolutely marvellously. But I certainly wouldn't recommend it on something like this because it's too severe. And also you've got to know what you're doing.
For that as well.
Yeah, it would be for that. But you're being dictated really by the colour that you've used in the animal.
Are you picking out more colours in the ear?
Yes. Those colours can be added. I wouldn't put that colour as an overall colour.
No, the hints of that tone in the background as well.
You see, the key to any background colour is you want to keep it as neutral as you can. Start with that and then move one way or the other. You know, you can go into the reds, the blues, the grey, whatever, the greens. But start with neutral, because anything neutral will complement whatever you've got in front of you. And you've got an animal. You've got to remember that any animal you do has got to be the most important part of the picture. You don't want to start putting a background on which is going to take away from the animal itself. It's a complement to the animal. So that's what a background is. It's a support act, if you like.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I think that's really interesting. I hope that's helped, Jenny. and anyone else watching actually to do with backgrounds. I think that's really quite helpful. Next one from Bianca. Hello Colin. Firstly, thanks for sending my order so fast to Holland. You're welcome. And liking the new feedback show very much. My first attempt to draw a dog, so I hope you can give me feedback on what to change and improve. I think I overworked it. I think 5 attempts it took to get this result. Thanks so much, Bianca.
I don't think you've done brilliantly. First attempt, eh? Gosh. We've got 2. We've got another one following this, folks, which actually astound me that they can produce something like this at a first attempt. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. Brilliantly. However, you want to know if there's any problems. Well, 1 or 2 little problems there. One of the problems I can see is if you look at the left eye, which just concentrate on that, or the left eye on the left-hand side, and on the right too, so you can switch between the 2 of them. Above that, you've got the fur. Now, if you look at the reference picture, you can still see where you got it from, the light and the dark. Got it? But look at the way the tones above the eye melt into each other. Now, that's what you're aiming for. What you tend to have got, you've got light, and you've got dark, and you've got light, and you've got dark on your picture. Now, just switch to the reference picture. You've got a lightish tone merging into a darkish tone, and a strong tone there. Well, go to the other side of that. The other side of that. That's it. That light tone there. That one. Now that hits hard against the dark, doesn't it, at behind? And the reason it does that, it gives you a dimension. Now these are the things
3D.
You've got to look at. Your picture has done the same sort of thing, but it doesn't pull it. You haven't pulled it off. So those are the things you've got to try to work. Now you could easily do this. You could actually change that by melting some of the colours you've used. I would think probably 187 you've used there. You could melt the 2 colours together. Instead of having a strong ivory colour there, you could move it in. What we're going to be doing, folks, soon, you'll be seeing some more pictures that show this kind of effect, not necessarily on dogs, although there will be dogs. And I'm concentrating on a lot of that kind, especially when you've got human hair. I'll tell you what is coming up, giving the game away. In a couple of weeks' time, 2 or 3 weeks' time, we're going to have a picture that's coming up on the YouTube where I do hair. Now, if you focus on just that one, it'll be different episodes, but one of them will be hair. If you concentrate on that, you'll see what I'm talking about. The transference between the light and the dark. Critical. That would make so much difference to your animal. Not I'm knocking it. I think you've done a fantastic job of that. I really do. I mean, wonderful. And for a first attempt, by golly, I'd like to see your 10th attempt or your 100th attempt. You're going to be professional by then. That's brilliant. Well done.
Lovely.
There's nothing I can say. It's really good. It's only that subtlety between the change of tones that I would pick up on.
Excellent. Well done. Okay, next one's from Paul. Hi Stephen Colin. As you know, I purchased your wildflowers course, and I did this one for a change on Canson Meton Moonstone. I've had this paper long before I started with your courses and never got round to using it. I have to say it's a very good paper. It's also very forgiving when erasing and can take an awful lot of erasing. I think the whole picture was challenging, but most difficult was going around all the tiny flowers when putting in the background, and I literally did go around all of them. I was really pleased with the tiny flowers on the left hand side, and I didn't want to chance going over them. Paul, so how difficult is that going around?
Really hard. Really hard. The original picture I did here, folks, many, many years ago, had a black background. Can you imagine the problems I had with that? And although
Is that all pastel pencil?
Yeah, all pastel pencils, yeah.
Oh,
and had a black background on it.
Wow.
I mean, I had a struggle with it at the time, but when I decided to do this one, I thought, well, do I have a black background? No black background for me on this one, even though it was very impressive.
Against all the white as well.
It's just a nightmare, Steve, I tell you. But there you are. I was brave in those days, and I tried it, and it did work. But it wouldn't have worked as a course, you know. We'd never been able to do it. So I chose what I chose. But still, that presents the same problem. You've got to go round those flowers. Key to it is, once the original drawing, once you've done those original flowers, which you'd have to do first, you can't do them afterwards, then you close up to those using the colour shapers. You can get quite tight to the point where you actually touch the flowers. See, the danger is if you try to go round the flowers, you leave little halos around them, you know, little sections of pastel, or they become a bit stilted. But it's really hard to do. But once you've done that, once you've gone round and you've as I said, you'll have to touch the palette, you can then go back over the flowers again because you've got the original colours underneath and re-establish them. It's the re-establishing of those that is the key to this. Very hard though. I compliment you on that. That's a really good picture, and I know what you went through.
How does it differ going over? Because like you would do a background on an animal, and you have to go around. It's kind of the same?
Well, it is, but this is kind of
going around petals. Isn't
I think this is the most difficult thing of all. Yes, we've got a flower picture coming up eventually for you folks, which is again you've got to go around that, but I haven't been as intricate as that on it. So you'll find it just a bit easier. But you get the idea of it. There's no other answer. You can't do the background first. It's impossible. If you say, well, I'll be very particular, I'll do the background first and leave all the little flowers with spare paper. Can you imagine the problems that would create? Anyway, even if you did that and tried that, you'd then have the problem of putting, you know, your hand all over the background when you're doing those other... Wouldn't be able to do it, folks. It's one of the things, pastel pencil is brilliant and it comes up really well, but that's the one area, flowers is the one area that can cause a bit of a problem. Well, I don't do too many. I rush myself to one a year.
Thanks, Paul. Good job. Okay, next one's from Maria. Hi, Colin. I joined your art course 2 weeks ago and this is my first attempt. I used your Jack Russell Terrier photo and your square drawing technique. I'd appreciate your feedback. I struggled with the nose and the fur generally, but any comments you would have to add to my learning would be much appreciated.
Well, this is the second picture I was talking about earlier. That's absolutely astounding that you can do something like that on the first attempt. Well, what can I say? Wonderful. Now, what can I do for you on that? Well, again, we have this subtlety again. You know, I was talking about earlier, go to the right ear on, that's it, right. And you know what I'm going to say. Look at the difference there. You see? You see the transition between mine and yours.
You've got that like middle area, haven't you? Yeah. This blended area.
See, the problem with this is what you've done there. It's got like a sausage running down the. Now I'm not demeaning your picture, and I don't want to think I am. I'm not, but it just looks like a sausage running down the middle of it. So what you've done is given a false impression of what we want. If you look at mine, you'll see it doesn't work that way. We've got a transition, right, as it moves across. And you can get out of that. You still can get out of that by relieving. If you've got a putty rubber, this will be ideal. You can take some of that dark colour off immediately adjacent to that area of sausage on the right-hand side of the picture, you see, of the ear. You could just take some of that off and then travel into that, the 187s, which I used. That would work.
So you just get a bit of putty rubber, break a bit off, press it down and lift it off, don't you?
Yes. That would be the other option is rubbing it out. The problem with rubbing it out, a dark colour like that, rubbing it completely out, is you could start to take some of the paper off. You've already been crushing the paper a bit, put that in the first place. So I'd use a putty rubber if you've got one, and you can take that out, and you can get a little bit of, just a little bit more tone in it that moves from one to the other. But as I say, I'm just being ultra critical on that. The other area is this, on the Jack Russell on mine, you'll see he's got a little bump on his nose under the left eye that runs down the snout. You see that little bump? Probably you won't. Bet you haven't seen it. Yeah, that one. And if you look at yours, you haven't got that. Now, these are only small, tiny details, but these are the kind of details that make a difference on an animal.
I didn't even notice that.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, Steve. And I doubt if anybody else looking at that would have seen it until I pointed it out to you. But these are the things that I look for. But when I'm doing my own animals, I'm looking for all these tiny little subtleties.
It gives it a bit more of a dimension, doesn't it? It gives it a bit more of a 3D.
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's more recognisable. You see, the thing is, we know, we've seen Jack Russell, we've seen dogs, cats, all our life. So when you're presented with something like this, you know there's something wrong. Now, because I can show you my picture, I can show you what's wrong.
Mm.
But if you were just looking at that picture on its own, the Rear's picture on its own, you'd have you'd know there's something not quite right, but you can't put your finger on it. This is the problem we have when we're dealing with, animal portrait work. But it's a small thing, and again, it's easy to change. Very easy to change. Just got to put the bump in.
Yeah.
Very subtle, and I tell you what, it's a fraction of a millimetre. It's very, very small. That difference would be small.
Yeah.
Small in terms of size, but very different as far as the actual picture is concerned.
Amazing.
But I think that would make it. But otherwise, so I'm pulling this to bits. But really, it's a wonderful job, and it's a terrific attempt.
Lovely work. Well done, Maria. Okay, last one, I think. Yeah, last one today is from Ian. This is the Kingfisher picture on our website. Ian says, the difficult part I found was blending the background with the water in the foreground. I enjoyed it, but open to any advice that Colin can give.
Again, we're in an area that really only professional artists should have a go at, to be honest. But you're all professional folks out there, because I give you the key. Because you're not dealing with the structure, form, shape, you're dealing with something obscure. All backgrounds are a bit like that, and that one is no exception. There's no real advice I can give you as far as how you can do it, except do more of it, as much as you possibly can. I think the water isn't bad at all, to be honest. It's the background area that I would pick up if I was going to pick anything up. It's just, it's got to have a bit of flair. This is why I say professional artists would go for that. And if you haven't got the ability, really, you're best to keep it as smooth as you can, as plain as you can. You see, you've got to have a kind of like an inbuilt random design in your head when you're doing it. You can't think, oh, I've got to do a bit here and I've got to do a bit there and I've got to put that bit down there. See what I mean? It doesn't work like that. In fact, if I did that my background again, I'd do it differently to what I've done there. It's got to come from inside you. And it's really hard to do, considering how difficult it is. You've done, again, a lovely job of it. And the other thing is you've got to be careful too. You've got to make the background quite strong if you're going to bring the animal forward, particularly in the animal on the water. You see where the water, the animal's body, kingfisher's body, hits the water. It kind of melts into the water a bit. So you've got to make that just, either the animal's got to be stronger and the background's got to be less detailed, or the other way around.
But you've got a contrast here to bring the bird forward slightly, haven't you?
That's right. Little things like that that do make a difference, and it's all practice. I think one of the good things that you can do with me, you can look at your picture and you put my picture alongside it, and you can when you're at home because you've got my pictures in front of you. So look at it and try to find out what makes this right and that wrong. You know? And once you understand that, what makes it right and wrong, you can then have a chance of putting it right. If you don't know what's wrong, or you can't work it out, then you may be a little bit early in the day. But gradually you will do. It's going to happen. As I do a lot of chatting, as you know, on my videos, and I try to explain the pitfalls you probably have, or how you can get out at something, and how you can achieve something. But something like this is very hard for me to describe what I'm doing because it's instinctive.
I'm looking at your background here and trying to replicate that would be incredibly difficult because it does look so random. It's like trees, isn't it?
Absolutely,
It's like you've got to just have that relaxed, free flow.
Let me just point a few things that might help you though here. Where you've got the arrow there, Steve, on that's a corner, isn't it? It's dark. Now, if you keep the corners dark, I know you've done it, you've followed me there. And you go over the other side and you'll see that there's dark again down there, where you know you haven't done that on yours. You've got a break. Had you put a dark colour in there, it would have been just that little bit easier. It contains things. You could say, what about the top? You know, the light goes off the top. Well, that's permissible. That works like that.
But it's like you've got it in the corners though, haven't you? Yeah. Like here, you've got each corner has got...
It's a frame.
Yeah, it's framing it, yeah.
This is, again, I do point this out though, very often on the videos you'll hear me say, I'm going to pay attention to the corners. You know, I often say, I used to love, and I still do, although I don't do them anymore, jigsaw puzzles. And it's the same thing. You've always got a nice strong corner. It frames the whole picture, and the picture looks great because of it. It's the little things like that that are hard to do, but if you can crack it eventually, it's so rewarding.
I bet.
You're not just copying anymore. You see, you can't copy that water, you just produce it. It's like trees, you can't copy trees, you just got to produce them.
Fantastic.
Anyway, well done, folks. That's lovely.
Well done, Ian.
Brilliant work.
There you go. That's everything for this show. I think that's been a really good show. Lots of tips and advice in there, Dad. Thanks for sharing all of that.
It's all right.
And here we go. Oh, are we gone now? There we are. So I hope everyone's found that interesting and helpful. We'll be back, well, probably in a few weeks' time if we have some more submissions. You can email us, contact us via the website, and send us your artwork. You obviously have to be a member. This is for members only. You can join any one of our membership plans. Just go to colinbradleyart.com and hit the sign up button, and you can learn all about our membership. And yeah, keep them coming in. As always, let us know what you found difficult and struggling with, like everyone else has today, so we can focus in on those areas. And we're about to record a podcast.
We are.
So if you want to listen to our podcast that's coming up, then head over to our website as well, colinbradleyart.com, and there's podcasts on there. Or on iTunes. We're on iTunes as well. Great.
Lovely.
Thanks. All right. I'll see you all next time. I'm Stephen Bradley.
I'm Colin Bradley.
Bye for now.